In this tutorial, I will show you how to make this shamrock shaped hair scrunchie. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you how to make this shamrock shaped hair scrunchie. I will be using a size I9 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I will be using Red Heart Super Saver yarn, and the type of yarn that I will be using is a 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn. And the color that I'll use to make this shamrock shaped scrunchie is Paddy Green. And you will need a hair tie elastic. I have this set that has different colors. I'm going to use this green one since my yarn is green, these green ones. And this hair tie elastic is approximately 2 inches in diameter. And this is one of those hair tie elastics that does not have the metal clip or clasp. This is one of those elastics without that. Okay, so to begin, I am going to start with a slip knot. Now I have my slip knot on the crochet hook, and then I'm going to take the hair tie elastic and I will insert the hook into the hair tie elastic like this. So you can see it just goes right over the crochet hook. And then what you want to do is you want to yarn over with the working yarn, and you'll pull the working yarn underneath through the hair tie elastic, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops to do your first single crochet. Now around the hair tie elastic I want a total of 32 single crochets, so that is the first one. And now I will work the single crochets over the hair tie elastic, and I'm going to wrap this piece of yarn here and work over that as well, so that way I won't have to weave in this tail. Okay, so that's the first single crochet. I will insert my hook into the hair tie elastic like that. So now you can see the hair tie elastic is on top of the hook. That's that little tail of yarn from the slip knot that I'm going to work over as well. And then yarn over with the working yarn, pull it underneath and through the hair tie elastic like that. Now I have the 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops to do a single crochet. So that's the second one. And then insert your hook again through the hair tie elastic like that. So into the hair tie elastic like that. You'll have the hair tie elastic on top of the hook, and then that's the tail where the slip knot was when I began. I will work over that as well. Yarn over with the working yarn, pull it underneath and through that hair tie elastic, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops to do my single crochet. Okay, so I have 3 single crochets so far. I want a total of 32. So now I'm going to do my next single crochet the same way. So think of it like when you work your stitches through a magic ring, you work by inserting your hook into the magic ring, then you yarn over and pull up a loop, and you work your stitches around the magic ring to encase your stitches. So you encase the magic ring into your stitches. So you can think of it much like that, where you're working over this hair tie elastic and you insert your hook just like you would with the magic ring, and then you yarn over, pull that underneath, and you can see now I'm going to do my single crochet, so I'm encasing this hair tie elastic into the stitches. Okay, so far I have 4 single crochets. So I have a total of 4 single crochets so far. I want a total of 32. single crochets for this round 1, so I need to do 28 more single crochets. So I'll go ahead and continue to work my single crochets over the hair tie elastic, working this tail into the work as well. I'm going to continue to work single crochets over the hair tie elastic until I have 32 single crochets. So you just insert your hook into the elastic like that, yarn over with the working yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So think of it, you work your stitches over it just like you do a magic ring, if that helps. Okay, so I'm working my stitches over the hair tie elastic. You just insert your hook into the hair tie elastic, just like that. Yarn over with the working yarn, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops to do your single crochet. So you're encasing that elastic into the stitches, just like you would with the magic ring. So if you've ever worked with the magic ring, you can think of it just like that, working your stitches through the magic ring and then working your stitches. So working the stitches through this hair tie elastic is very much like working stitches over a magic ring, if that helps envision how you work the stitches over this hair tie elastic. You just insert your hook, pull up a loop, do your single crochet over the hair tie elastic. And you want to just continue working single crochets just like that until you have 32 single crochets. Okay, so I have 28 single crochets so far. I need a total of 32, so I need to do 4 more single crochets. And you can see it looks like I ran out of space, but I can just move these stitches over so I can fit 4 more single crochets. Okay, so I have 28 so far, so I'm going to do 4 more. 29, 30, 31, and 32. So I worked 32 single crochets over the hair tie elastic, and now I will insert my hook into the first single crochet that I did when I began the round and join with a slip stitch. And that completes round 1. Now for round 2, I am going to work 1 double crochet in every single stitch. So to begin, I will chain 2. This first chain 2, I am not going to count this as a stitch. So into the first stitch where I just joined with the slip stitch, I am going to do a double crochet into that first joining stitch. So I'm not going to count the first chain 2. This is the double crochet I did after chaining 2. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the rest of the stitches. So every stitch 1 double crochet each. So I'm working a double crochet into the tops of the single crochets from round 1. So I will go ahead and work just 1 double crochet in every single stitch. And if you're not sure how to do a double crochet, I'll go ahead and show you in this video. You want to yarn over the hook, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And that is how you do a double crochet. And I do have a tutorial on how to do a double crochet if anyone wants to watch that before finishing this scrunchie. So I'll just go ahead and continue working 1 double crochet in every single stitch for this round 2. And then I have just 1 more double crochet to work. There's 1 more stitch here, so I'll go ahead and do my last double crochet of this round. Okay, so when you finish this round 2, you will have 32 double crochets. So now I need to join with a slip stitch to the top of the very first double crochet that I did when I began round 2. So remember, when I started round 2, I did do a chain of 2. I am not counting the chain 2 as a stitch, so I'm not going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 2. I am going to insert my hook into the top of the double crochet. So here's the chain 2, and then I did a double crochet into that same joining stitch. So rather than insert your hook into the top of the chain 2, insert it into the top of the double crochet, very first double crochet of round 2, and join with a slip stitch. And that completes round 2. So now I have 32 double crochets plus the chain 2 when I began the round. Since the chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, and then I started by doing a double crochet in that same stitch, I will have 32 actual double crochets in that chain 2, which we do not count as a stitch. So now that I have 32 double crochets, I have completed round 2. And now I'm ready to begin round 3. To begin round 3, I will start by chaining 3 chains. And when I work the 3 chains, I want to make sure that I work with a tension that's not too loose. And the reason why is when I work the next stitch, I want to make sure that it doesn't leave a gap from the 3 chains. Because if I work with a very loose tension, then when I work the next stitch, you may see a little bit of a gap. So I did my chain 3, paying attention to my tension, and then I'm going to work 1 double crochet into this first joining stitch. So I'll go ahead and work a double crochet, and I'll work it with the normal tension that I normally work when I work the double crochet. It's just when I work this chain 3, I want to pay attention to my tension to make sure I don't work it with a very loose tension, because if I did, it's possible that you could end up with a little bit of a gap. So that's why when you work the 3 chains, so you just want to make sure that when you work these 3 chains that you kind of pay attention to the tension, that you make sure the tension is not really loose when you work the 3 chains. That way you'll avoid having a gap between the chains and the next stitch. Okay, so I did my chain 3 and a double crochet into that first joining stitch. I did the double crochet into the joining stitch where I just joined with a slip stitch when I finished round 2. Okay, so I have my first double crochet. So in this round 3, I am going to be working the base of each leaf for the shamrock. So I'll have 3 of them. So each one will be worked the same. So here's the first double crochet, and now I want to work 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches. So the next 8 stitches will have 1 double crochet each, because you'll have 9 double crochets for each one of the bases of the leaves. I already did 1, so I need 8 more because I want a total of 9. So there's the first one, and now I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just doing a double crochet in each stitch. This is number 6, 7, and 8. So I did 1 double crochet in the joining stitch and then 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches. So now you should have 9 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So after you finish that 9th double crochet, you want to chain 3, and you want to pay attention to the tension for the chains and just tighten up on the tension a little bit to avoid having a gap between this stitch and the chain 3. So now I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you don't want to work the tension so tight that you can't get back into the chains, because in the next round we'll work slip stitches into each one of those chains. Okay, so now that I've done my chain 3, I will do a slip stitch into that same stitch where I just did the last double crochet here. So I'll do a slip stitch after I chain 3 into that same stitch where the double crochet is. So to recap, round 3 starts off by chaining 3, and then you do a double crochet into the same joining stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches. So you'll have a total of 9, because the first one goes in the joining stitch, and then you do double crochet in the next 8 stitches for a total of 9 double crochets. And then once you have your 9th double crochet, you chain 3, slip stitch into that same stitch where you did the 9th double crochet. So that completes the base of the first leaf for the shamrock. Okay, so now after you did your chain 3 and you did your slip stitch into that same stitch where the double crochet is, you want to find the very next stitch, and into that very next stitch we'll do a slip stitch. Okay, so now before we begin the base of the second petal, I want to do a slip stitch in the next stitch as well. So here's the 9th double crochet. I did a chain 3 and then a slip stitch into the same stitch where I had that double crochet here that ends this leaf. Then into the very next stitch I did a slip stitch, and then into the very next stitch I want to do a slip stitch as well. So after you do the chain 3 and then slip stitch into the same stitch as that double crochet, you slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So now I'm going to start the second leaf base here, the base of the next leaf. Just to recap, I did a chain 3, worked 9 double crochets, chain 3, slip stitch into the same stitch where I did the last 9th double crochet, and then I did a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. Now I'm ready to begin the base of the second leaf. So now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm paying attention to the tension I use when I chain those 3 chains, because I don't want to have a big gap between the chain 3 and the next stitch. But I also don't want to work the chains too tight, because I want to be able to work slip stitches into these chains when I work round 4. Okay, so I did my chain 3, and into the same stitch I'm going to do a double crochet. So that starts the base of this next leaf. So that's 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into the next 8 stitches, because I want a total of 9 double crochets. So that's the first double crochet. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I should have a total of 9 double crochets, because I already have 1. Then I did 1 in the next 8 stitches, so I should have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now that I have my 9 double crochets, I am going to chain 3. And then do a slip stitch into that same stitch where I just did that last 9th double crochet. So I'm going to do my slip stitch there. And that completes the base of the second leaf. So now that I have finished that, I did chain 3, 9 double crochets, chain 3, and then I did a slip stitch into that same stitch where I did that 9th double crochet. So now what I want to do is do a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So I'll do a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So here's a slip stitch, and the next one, slip stitch. So to recap, we do a chain 3, 9 double crochets, chain 3, slip stitch into the stitch where you have the 9th double crochet, and then you do a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So you'll see that in between the bases of the leaves, you have a slip stitch here, because you did a slip stitch after you do the 9th double crochet, and then you slip stitch, and then you slip stitch again, then chain 3. So there is a slip stitch in between. So that's why after I did the slip stitch into the same stitch as the 9th double crochet, I slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, because I want to have a slip stitch in between the bases of the leaves, in other words. Because that second slip stitch, that's where I did the chain 3. So you'll have that slip stitch in the middle between them. Okay. So after I finished this one, that was the first one. After I did my 9 double crochets here, and I did the chain 3, slip stitch into the same stitch where I have that 9th double crochet, then I did a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, because this slip stitch will be in between the chain 3s. So you do a slip stitch and then another slip stitch, and then I'll chain 3 to start the 3rd base for the next petal. Okay, so now I'm going to chain 3, and I'm paying attention to my tension. I don't want to work it too loose, but I don't want to work it so tight that I can't get into those stitches to do my slip stitches in the next round. Okay, so I did my chain 3 into that same stitch where I have that slip stitch before I did the chain 3. I want to do a double crochet. Okay, and then I'll do 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches because I want to have 9 double crochets. So that's the first double crochet. So then I'll do a double crochet in the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I already had one that I did in that same stitch after I did the chain 3, so that was the first one. Then I did 8 more, so I should have a total of 9 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So once you have your 9th double crochet, you want to chain 3, slip stitch into that same stitch where you did the 9th double crochet. So now that third base for the leaves are done. So I have 3 of them. In the next round we'll shape the leaves of the shamrock. So in the 4th round we'll have the shape, we'll establish the shape for the shamrock here. So we're ready to do the stem. So for this stem here, I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. So now to begin the stem, I am going to chain 8 chains. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 chains. And then into the 4th chain from the hook, so I'll count over 1, 2, 3. Skip the first 3 chains closest to the hook. Into the 4th chain from the hook, you want to do a double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. Into this 4th one, do a double crochet. So we're working into the chain, working back towards the shamrock, towards the where the elastic is. Okay, so then into the next chain, I will do a half double crochet. So to do a half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to do your half double crochet. And then I will do a single crochet into the next 3 chains. 1, 2, and 3. And then skip this next stitch here, and then find the next stitch and do a slip stitch into that next one after skipping one. So I'll show you again. You skip this next stitch, find the next one, after skipping this one, find the next one, and then do a slip stitch. And that completes the stem for your shamrock. So that's what it looks like so far. Okay, so now we're ready to begin round 4. So for round 4, we need to work our way up those 3 chains. So what we're going to do is, because we have the 3 chains, 9 double crochets, and 3 chains. So we're going to shape the first leaf here. So we need to work up the 3 chains. So I'll do a slip stitch into each one of these 3 chains here. So insert my hook into the first chain and do a slip stitch. Then find the second chain, insert my hook and do a slip stitch. And then find the third chain. That's before that first double crochet. So into the third chain, I will do a slip stitch as well. Okay, so I did the slip stitches working up the 3 chains. So now here's the first double crochet of those 9. Into this double crochet, the first double crochet after you work slip stitches into those 3 chains, the very next stitch is the double crochet. I'm going to work 2 stitches. I will do a single crochet and a half double crochet into this first double crochet here from round 3. So into this first stitch, I will do a single crochet, and into that same stitch where I did the single crochet, I will do a half double crochet as well. Okay, so that first stitch, 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The very next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have a half double crochet and a double crochet worked into the same stitch. So the next stitch, I'll work my half double crochet, and then I will do a double crochet into that same stitch where I just did the half double crochet. The very next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have 2 double crochets. So this next stitch, I will work 2 double crochets into the stitch. And then the very next stitch, I will do 2 stitches. I will work a double crochet and a half double crochet into this stitch. And then into the very next stitch, I will do a slip stitch. So that's the first part of the shamrock here. So you can see that's this part here, and then we'll do this second part to complete the leaf, the first leaf. Okay, so to recap, I started off by the first stitch, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The next stitch had a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch had 2 double crochets, and then the next stitch had a double crochet and a half double crochet. And then you slip stitch into the very next stitch. So now we need to complete this leaf by doing the curve here, just like we did here. So what we're going to do, we did the slip stitch. So the very next stitch will have 2 stitches. This next stitch after the stitch where you do the slip stitch, this next stitch, I will do 2 stitches. I will work a half double crochet and a double crochet into that same stitch where I did the half double crochet. So I did 2 stitches into this stitch after I worked the slip stitch. So you work this first part of the leaf, then the next stitch you do a slip stitch, and then the very next stitch I did 2 stitches, a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have 2 double crochets. The very next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have a double crochet and a half double crochet. So into the next stitch I will do a double crochet and a half double crochet. And then there's one more double crochet before the chain 3. So into this last double crochet before the chain 3, I am going to work 2 stitches. I am going to work a half double crochet and a single crochet. So this second part of the leaf ends the same way that this first one begins, because just to recap, after you work the slip stitches up the 3 chains, the next stitch has 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. Then you do a half double crochet and a double crochet into the next stitch. The next stitch has 2 double crochets, and then the next stitch has a double crochet and a half double crochet. Then the very next stitch has a slip stitch. and then you need to start the second half of the leaf. So after you do the slip stitch, you find the next stitch and you do a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch has 2 double crochets, and then the next stitch has a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then the next stitch, the last double crochet just before the chain 3, that stitch has a half double crochet and a single crochet. Now I am here where the 3 chains are. I need to work my way down the 3 chains by doing a slip stitch in each of the chains. So I'll work 1 slip stitch into these 3 chains. So I'll find my first chain, working my way back towards where the elastic is. So the first chain, do a slip stitch, and then the second chain, I will work a slip stitch, and then the third chain, I will work a slip stitch. And then you find that slip stitch that's in between the 2 groups here of from round 2, we had 9 double crochets, and then you do a chain 3 and you do a slip stitch into the same stitch where that 9th double crochet was in the previous round. Then you find the very next slip stitch that's in between the 2. So I'll do a slip stitch into that slip stitch in between the groups of 9 double crochets basically. So I did a slip stitch here. Now I'm going to work my way up these 3 chains. After you do that slip stitch there, then you want to find these 3 chains. We're going to work our way up the 3 chains by doing 1 slip stitch in each of these chains. So find the first one that's closest to the elastic, because we're working up now. So find the first one, first chain, insert your hook and do a slip stitch. Find your next chain and do a slip stitch, and then the third chain, working up the 3 chains, and do a slip stitch. So I just did 1 slip stitch in each of those 3 chains, working my way up. So now I'm here to the first double crochet of those 9 double crochets from the 3rd round. So now I'm ready to start my second leaf, and I'm going to do the same thing I did here. So you find that double crochet after those 3 chains. Into that first double crochet I will work 2 stitches. I am going to do a single crochet and a half double crochet into this stitch. So this is that first double crochet after those 3 chains. Into this double crochet I will work a single crochet, and then I will work a half double crochet into that same stitch where I just did the single crochet. So this stitch had 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The next stitch will have 2 stitches. This next stitch will have a half double crochet and a double crochet. So I'll go ahead and do my half double crochet, and then I will do a double crochet into that same stitch with the half double crochet. The next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have 2 double crochets. Okay, that stitch had 2 double crochets. The next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have a double crochet and a half double crochet. So I'm going to do a double crochet and a half double crochet. And then I will do a slip stitch into the very next stitch. So that's the first half of this second leaf. So to recap, you work your way up the 3 chains by doing a slip stitch in each of the 3 chains, and then the first stitch, 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The next stitch has a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch has 2 double crochets, and then the next stitch has a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then you do a slip stitch into the very next stitch. So now I need to work the second part of this leaf. So into the stitch after the one where you did the slip stitch, the very next stitch after that, I will work 2 stitches. This will have a half double crochet and a double crochet. So this next stitch, I will do a half double crochet, and then I will work a double crochet into that same stitch. So I did a slip stitch, and then the very next stitch has 2 stitches, a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch will also have 2 stitches. It will have 2 double crochets. The very next stitch will also have 2 stitches. It will have a double crochet and a half double crochet. So the next stitch, I'll work my double crochet and then a half double crochet. And then there's one more double crochet here before you get to the 3 chains. So into this last one here, I will work 2 stitches. It will have a half double crochet and a single crochet. So you can see that's the second leaf done. Just to recap, after you work your way up the 3 chains, you start with the next stitch having 2 stitches, a single crochet and half double crochet. Next stitch, half double crochet and a double crochet. Next stitch, 2 double crochets. Very next stitch has a double crochet and a half double crochet. Then into the next stitch you do a slip stitch. And then the next stitch will have a half double crochet and a double crochet. The very next stitch has 2 double crochets. The very next stitch has a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then this next one, a half double crochet and single crochet. So each leaf starts with the single crochet and ends with a single crochet basically. Okay, so now that I finished that one, you can see I have my 3 chains. So I need to work my way down the 3 chains. And I'm going to do that by working 1 slip stitch in each of these chains. So I'll insert my hook into the first chain and do a slip stitch. And then find the next chain, the second one, and do a slip stitch. Then find the third chain and do a slip stitch. And then you find that slip stitch that's in between. So remember we did a slip stitch in between the groups of 9 double crochets in the previous round. So I'll go ahead and insert my hook into that slip stitch and do a slip stitch. Okay, so I did my slip stitch, and then you'll see I'm here where those 3 chains are again before the 9 double crochets for the last leaf. So I need to work my way up those 3 chains. So now I'll do 1 slip stitch in each of these chains, working my way up. So I'll find my first chain, insert my hook and do a slip stitch. Find the second chain, insert my hook and do a slip stitch. And then I'll find that third chain, insert my hook and do a slip stitch. So I just worked my way up those 3 chains. So now I'm ready to begin my third and final leaf for my shamrock. So now that I worked a slip stitch into those 3 chains, here's the very next double crochet. I will start by working 2 stitches into the top of this stitch. So I will do a single crochet into the stitch, and then into that same stitch where I did the single crochet, I will do a half double crochet. So this stitch had 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The very next stitch will also have 2 stitches. It will have a half double crochet and double crochet. So I'll do my half double crochet and then a double crochet. The very next stitch is also going to have 2 stitches. It will have 2 double crochets. The very next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have a double crochet and a half double crochet. So into the stitch I'll do the double crochet, and then into that same stitch I will do a half double crochet. So to recap, the first stitch had 2 stitches, a single crochet and a half double crochet. The very next stitch, a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch has 2 double crochets, and then this stitch had a double crochet and a half double crochet. So now into the very next stitch I will do a slip stitch. So the first part of this leaf, this last leaf, is done. So now that I've done the slip stitch, I need to start the second part. This stitch had a slip stitch. The very next stitch after the one where you did the slip stitch, so you find the very next stitch and you do 2 stitches, a half double crochet and a double crochet. So the stitch after the one where you do the slip stitch, the very next stitch has 2 stitches, a half double crochet and a double crochet. The next stitch has 2 double crochets. So after you do the stitch that has the slip stitch, you find the very next stitch and you do a half double crochet and double crochet. The next stitch has 2 double crochets, and then the next stitch will have 2 stitches. It will have a double crochet and a half double crochet. So I'll do my double crochet and then a half double crochet. And then there's one more stitch before the chain 3. So into this last stitch here, you'll have 2 stitches. You'll have a half double crochet and a single crochet. So that's what it looks like so far. And then now we're here where the 3 chains are. So we need to work our way down the chains by working slip stitches. So I'll do a slip stitch in each one of the chains. So I'll find the first chain, insert my hook, and do a slip stitch. Find the next chain, do a slip stitch, and the third chain, and do a slip stitch. And then I like to just insert my hook into the very next stitch to do a slip stitch as well. And then I'm going to fasten off. Because that completes my shamrock now. Since that completes my shamrock, I'll just go ahead and yarn over with the tail of yarn where I just fastened off and pull that through, give it a tug, fasten off. So now I have completed my shamrock shaped hair scrunchie. So now I just need to weave in this tail. I am going to use a darning needle to weave in the tail. And I'll weave in my tail along the back of my work. So this is on the back of the work. I'm just going to weave in that tail along the back of the work. On the wrong side of the work, in other words. And then I'm going to turn it over to the right side of the work. And now I have finished my shamrock shaped hair scrunchie. I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial today. I want to thank you for watching and have a great day.